President Obama announced a number of cabinet positions now. Jack Lew for Treasury Secretary, Chuck Hagel for Defense, and John Kerry for Secretary of State. They all happen to be white men. So that's got some people angry, including old Charles Rangel. So let's listen.
The first black president, and he's getting questions about diversity. Are these questions fair? Are you concerned?
Of course I'm concerned, and the questions are fair, and the record does speak for itself. I wonder whether
well, if the record speaks for itself, what does it say going into this second term?
It's embarrassing as hell. We've been through all this with Mitt Romney, and we were very hard on Mitt Romney with his women bind and a variety of things.
So he's saying it's embarrassing that he doesn't have women and minorities in those very important positions. Now, Hillary Clinton's leaving. Of course, she was a woman. Now, 43% of Obama's cabinet were women. It's about the same percentage as Bill Clinton's, 10% higher than George W. Bush's. So now that was the past. Now Rangel is saying, and one of the points he's making is, look, you had 4 years. Don't tell me, like when you first came in, all right, well, these are the guys around, I need to go, etc. Hey, don't tell me that you couldn't find any women or minorities in the last 4 years that are qualified, etc. Now, I don't agree with Rangel. What's that?
He should have had a binder.
He should have had a binder. Yeah. Now, first reason I don't agree with Rangel is, well, he was going to put up Susan Rice, who was both a minority and a woman, and the Republicans, beat her back. Now, the thing is, Obama could have been tougher and say, oh, the Republicans don't want her as Secretary of State. Well, then they should have been president. They lost. I won. She'll be the Secretary of State. That's what I would have done. But it was the Republicans who ferociously attacked Susan Rice. So it's not really that fair to put it on Obama. Second of all, I'm not a liberal in that old school way. To me, the substance of the candidates matter much more. And if you have the right substance, you will wind up having the right amount of women, minorities. But if you're driven by picking women or minorities, I'm not that concerned that these guys happen to be three white guys. I mean, look, Hagel is pretty good for the job. I think Kerry's pretty good for the job. I think Jack Lew is a disaster, right? So to me, the substance matters at 10 times more.
We shouldn't be having this conversation. It's a batshit crazy argument. It's a total Republican argument, but Charlie Rangel, I believe, is pissed because the Obama administration abandoned him when his ethics scandal came up. So this is
an old payback.
This is horse shit. The president's black, the attorney general's black, the secretary of state was a woman. Shut the fuck up. This is over.
Right, but I think the only problem is a lot of times, even because we're seeing it in Republican terms. Republicans appoint people based off of gender and race because they're trying to have a certain look because they don't really give a shit. So the real reason to appoint minorities and women is because you have the different perspective. You need representatives of women because that's who voted for you, and representative of minorities because that's who voted for you. So they have a different perspective in how to carry things out. It's not for show, and if it is for show, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and you're going to appoint the wrong person anyway. So if you appoint people because of that, because they have experience, and they are that, they're going to give you a different perspective that you never could have had because your life experience isn't from the eyes of a woman or isn't from the eyes of a Latino. So if you get the right ones, as long as you make sure they're the right ones and they have that perspective, you're helping yourself, not just for show.
Now, Jerry, you're right about that, but the thing is, that's why the real problem here is that he's picking the guys who are from his perspective, which in the case of the Treasury Secretary is the Wall Street perspective. Yeah. So, and by the way, who would he have picked if he was going to pick a minority there? He probably would have picked someone, and not for Treasury, but for an important position, he probably would have picked somebody like Harold Ford Jr., who happens to be African American, who happens to be one of the biggest corporatists in the country, right? And who would have agreed with Jack Lew and who would agree with Obama and Geithner, because he only picks the guys who agree with him, who are pro-Wall Street, and to be fair, actually Hagel is probably to the left of Obama, even though he's a Republican, on drone strikes and renditions, etc. So
the defense is a different breed of job, and I love Chuck Hagel's thoughtfulness about these sort of critically important issues. I think Chuck Hagel was an A+ pick.
Yeah. So but if you were to pick, like, for Treasury Secretary, Neil Barofsky, who's also white, but who was the special inspector for TARP and actually gave a damn and said, hey, wait, the government is doing things wrong. We've got to regulate the banks, otherwise they're going to explode. That would be great.
That would be diversity.
Yeah, or if he picked someone who was a woman who agreed with that, Sheila Bair. An excellent regulator. Used to be a Republican, but an excellent regulator who understands the limits of the banks, etc. Would have been terrific. That isn't the problem. Yeah. The problem is the perspective.
Look, I got it, but this is Charlie Rangel because of his anger at the Obama administration, I think. joining a 100% Republican talking point. Like this is a sample size that you can't determine. These are 3 incredibly important jobs. I'm not minimizing Secretary of Labor, but these are the 3 big money jobs, and you hire the best people at the time who share your values. And in the case, and the fact, and I throw in Attorney General, right? And the Attorney General is a minority. The Secretary of State was a woman. His choice for the replacement Secretary of State was a black woman. You can't. It's a crazy, insane argument.